What's up, my family? Listen, first-time listener, or you've been here the whole damn time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, giddy up, let's go, no notes.
That's my baby. I'm dying. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Slap.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah!
What the f*** are you talking about?
What is up, everybody? We are live after an exciting Phillies victory for the Phillies fans. Obviously, me being a Mets fan, not so exciting, but we'll get into that in a little bit. We got some Ohio State, Penn State predictions. We got rants on both the Giants and the Eagles after tough losses to handle. A lot of NFL reactions. But first, let's kick it off with our sponsor for tonight. Our sponsor for tonight is Gleason's Bar. Gleason's Bar is located at 6700 Mill Creek Ave in Levittown, Pennsylvania. Use promo code HED for 10% off your order whenever you dine in, take out, or online. That's Gleason'sBarandSteaks.com. And to kick off our night, we'll start off with our poll question. Phillies fans should feel confident they will win the World Series. Agree or disagree? Now, if you're talking to me after that first 2-3 innings, I'd say yeah. But the relief wasn't a strength in tonight's ball game, and we saw it. A little scare. Obviously, that fifth insurance run did the job. Obviously, they still won 5-3. But you talk about bullpen, a little bit of bullpen struggles. Sir Anthony didn't look all that good. They brought in Alvarado after him. He luckily shut the door, and then you brought in Kimbrel. So it'll be interesting to see how they go forward with this victory. But also in the AL, you got two very competitive teams. I picked the Rangers from midseason. I'll stay on them. Rangers are a very hot and underrated team. A lot of young studs in their lineup to look after. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to come to the World Series. But for me, I'm going to have to disagree to the poll. Luke, what about you?
A little biased, but I'm going to agree to the poll. I think it's hard to right now, especially as a Phillies guy, to not agree after, we're seeing some dominance right now and everything. My main point, though, and you're not wrong about the bullpen. That definitely was kind of shocking, honestly. I'm not going to lie. I kind of thought that would be a strength. I think we all did, too.
Sure.
That would definitely be a strength. But I'm going to look at it towards another way and, more like the offensive side of things. For me, the way it is right now, Castellanos obviously is on fire, and he's batting in that 7th spot, and he hasn't really done that all season. It's kind of like a newer thing, and he's obviously tearing it up. Honestly, the two guys that really haven't showed up yet are the guys batting 5 and 6 in Bohm and Stott. I'm not 5 and 6, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
JT comes before them, but those are two guys that seem to always have guys on base, have opportunities to make a big play, come up big for the team, and they haven't so far. And I was just talking about it, while watching the game with a bunch of Phillies guys, yes, you want to move Casty up because you want him in those situations as Chargers score a touchdown, hopefully tie it. Yes, you want Casty to be up in the order in those situations with guys on, no doubt about it. I'd rather him be up there than Stott and Bohm right now, the way it looks. But I'm not taking him out of that 7th spot right now. He's been dominant. He's been better than you could ever imagine. And I have to bet on the fact that Stott and Bohm will turn it around. I have to because I can't change what I've been doing because it's been working. And I also can't do it because they were so fucking good all year long. So I have to assume that it's going to come back at some point. I have to. And, I'm excited for that to happen. I think that it will eventually happen. And talk about how good the offense has been against guys like Strider and again today, another all-star pitcher. Imagine what it's going to be like when those two get hot. You have to assume it's going to happen. You have to.
No, I'll agree. And, you brought up a good point. Do you shift around the lineup? No. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We saw it in Game 1. The Braves tried to fix around their lineup, got smacked by the Phillies.
Houston did the same thing.
Houston did the same thing. The Rangers keep going back to their bread and butter, and it's looking really good. Josh Jung has been very hot for them in the playoffs. And they just keep him in the 7-8 hole, and he just keeps on performing down there. But It'll be interesting. Obviously, they're the favorites to come out of the NL after tonight's performance. I'll definitely say that. But in the AL, you got two very powerhouse teams, and we've seen 2 games now. The Rangers have won. Their starting pitching has been very dominant. You got guys hitting the ball. I mean, I think it was Tavares yesterday. Today, Jonah Heim put one out. I don't know if anybody else put one out, but just a lot of young studs that are just getting hot at the right time, and that's what October is about.
Right.
That's what playoff baseball is about. You got to have guys that get hot at the right times, and I sure as hell have seen it in Harper, in Castellanos, in Trey Turner, in fucking, I don't even know, Brandon Marsh has been looking not terrible at the plate. It's going to come full circle if these guys can get their bats around, but going back to my main point, you got to get the relief pitching solved. Yeah. Alvarado and Kimbrel are at the back end, and Kimbrel looked a little bit shaky. We can't even argue. Alvarado, you got to get in Soto somewhere. You got to get a righty in there. I don't know if it's Kerkering, Hoffman. I don't know if Sir Anthony had a bad night tonight. I don't know if it's Lorenzen, maybe even Christopher Sanchez. I don't even know if he made the NLCS roster. He did. Maybe even Taijuan Walker. I mean, I don't know what their playoff rotation is going to look like. I haven't looked at it too much, to be honest. But you got to figure out that playoff bullpen is my main point.
I agree with you. I think Alvarado has to play. Kimbrel has to play, given his experience. I get it. You have a heart attack every time he goes on the field. I do too. But given his experience, he has to play over these younger guys who haven't been in this moment. To me, the question then becomes, and I agree that they do need a righty. The question is, they have to pick between 3 guys. One, Sir Anthony, which is what they've been rolling with, Lorenzen, and Taijuan Walker. Now, the thing is like, I didn't play baseball, but to me, as a starting pitcher who's put up, believe 15 or 16 wins this year, it would kind of mind fuck me a little bit go out.
You bring up a very good point that these guys that are starters and then they're used in the bullpen for, let's say, 1 to 2 innings when they're used to going. They're used to going the long run. Right. They're not used to going short.
And he's going into a game saying, I'm facing this batter. He's not going into a game saying, I got to get through 5-6 innings. So it's different. I don't know if that would be a strength or a weakness. And obviously, the way they're winning right now, it is scary with Sir Anthony, and he was not really all that impressive. Even in the regular season, he was hurt for a while, came back, and wasn't really that impressive. So it is scary, but how do you roll with Lorenzen with the way he looked to end the season after that no-hitter? I mean, he was completely dog shit ever since then.
He completely folded.
And Taijuan Walker, you're putting him in a new spot, and it's like when you've been winning. So I think it's got to be what it is right now, I think.
So you're going to go with the 3-man. The question is, are they going to roll with the 3-man rotation, or is Taijuan going to be that 4 and then you flip game 5? Let's say back.
I don't see them putting Taijuan
because they brought in a new. I don't know if it's been this year or if it's been recent or if it's been like this for a lot of years. They do 2-3-2 now, where they go 2. I thought it was always 2-2, 1-1-1.
No. Right. I kind of like it better this way.
No, it definitely is a lot better. You got 2 games at home. Harper's replay shot a nuke. Sanchez will be game 4.
I don't know about that. I kind of expected him going into like everyone getting healthy, getting Wheeler back to par and Nola back and all these guys. I kind of wanted him to be that bullpen guy, and I get it. You go into a playoff game saying this is a bullpen game when you have Sanchez out there. Same time, I don't know if they're really going to do that, especially if they can get like 4 to 5 solid innings out of Ranger Suarez on a game 3. So if that happens, then I don't know if there's even a need for Sanchez at all, because then you really would be saving your bullpen, at least the bottom half of your bullpen. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. And it is a concern, but at the end of the day, you ask me, like, this is my thing, why I say that it should be the Phillies, is because, and I understand why you disagree, I get it, and they're up 2-0, so it's easier to say that. But I'll say this, go back to, let's say, last October, who has played the most consistent baseball from last October to today's date? It's us in Houston, and obviously Houston looks like shit right now. That's why I'm going with it. I've seen them do this before, and I believe that this team, it felt like last year it was like a glory story. It was just like,
Sure.
the underdogs, like no one expects us to be here. We have nothing to lose kind of mindset. It's kind of like that now, but it's more of like we should fucking be here.
Yeah.
Like we should be here. Trey Turner's here now. They went out and got new additions. Taijuan Walker, Lorenzen kind of bolstered up the bullpen, Kimbrel. And now it feels like this is their push to go at it. So as a fan, I say they should be the favorite because I'm looking at it as anything else is kind of unacceptable at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Before I move on to the AL, depends if the Phils are up 3-1. Do they go Wheeler or Sanchez? My personal input is you got to go Wheels. You got to give the guy to the hot hand. Sanchez. Personally, if you get only 2 innings out of him, you're looking at a bullpen game. You're looking at maybe Lorenz and maybe Taijuan Walker. Then you got to get innings out of Hoffman. You got to get innings out of Alvarado. You got to get innings out of Kimbrel, Soto. You got to get innings out of the whole bullpen. God forbid Sanchez has a bad start. So for me, I'm ending the ball to Wheeler.
100%. Got to get the win. Don't fuck around.
Yeah. All right. Moving to the AL. Rangers up 2-0 right now. And it's surprising because their starting pitching has been dominant. And you talk about guys that haven't performed all that great in the regular season, like Jordan Montgomery. Eovaldi was very mid. I want to say he had about a 3.2. And then you had Game 3, they're going to have Scherzer going. It'll be interesting to see him getting back on the bump after I think he hasn't pitched since mid-August, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be interesting. I took the Rangers obviously at the beginning or at the midseason, and I'll stick with them. The Astros bats aren't keeping up with them. They got Yordan Alvarez. Altuve went 0 for 5 today. Bregman had a solo shot, sure. Nobody else is surrounding Yordan on that team. Jose Abreu was there in the ALDS. I haven't seen anything from him in the ALCS. Monty blanked him in the first game, and then Eovaldi had a great start this game. Bullpen almost let them come back. So for me, it's looking like it's going to be a Rangers-Phillies World Series.
Yeah, I might have to agree. I'm not going to act like I was spot on with you. Like you called it a while ago. I kind of hopped on more recently. But I do think people need to start realizing that they kind of had the advantage in that division pretty much like the whole year until the very end. They let it slip right through. So, yes, it's surprising because the Astros have been here before. And I heard today for the first time that, they haven't even won a World Series before the Rangers, which is like kind of shocking to me.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it is surprising. It's not what we all expected, but at the same time, they've been in this spot all season long. And for them to finally take the reign and beat them, I mean, they got to do it first. I don't know. Maybe it would be a quick turn in what the division will look like for years to come, just like the Phillies and Braves.
Sure. All right. Before we switch gears into football, give me your NLCS and ALCS MVPs. So I'll start. So NLCS, I think Harper's just going to go on an absolute tear after today. I think he went 3 for 3, maybe even 3 for 4. So give me Harper out of the NL. And then in the AL, I think that Corey Seager is going to go on a tear, possibly in these next 2 games at home, maybe even sweep them. Who the hell knows? I don't think it's likely. I think it's definitely possible, but I don't think it's likely. But yeah, I'm going to say Seager and Harper. What about you?
I will agree with Harper 1,000,000%. I think how could it be anyone else? If they win, even if he plays like shit, I still think they'll probably give it to him. But yeah, the other one for the Rangers for me, hot take. I'm just gonna go with it. You said it. The starting pitching's been unbelievable. I'm a kind of a Monty fan myself. I'll go with him. Kind of been their ace now. We'll see how Scherzer is added, but he's on pace with the pitching schedule to kind of get 2 big time wins, and the first one pretty much shut him out. So yeah, I'll go with him.
All right, before we kick it over to football, we're going to kick it over to a little bit of a commercial break. We'll be back.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, proudly celebrating 40 years and our new, bigger showroom.
Twice the size and twice the fun.
More pool tables by Olhausen. More dartboard sets, including custom-reclaimed backboards. More bar and kitchen stools that can change a room.
And more bars, including pre-built and custom.
Hot tubs, skee ball, shuffleboard, outdoor,
and fun.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, your ultimate game room store. Now located on Bethlehem Pike in Colmar.
Yeah, so check out Royal Billiards, located at 515 Bethlehem Pike in Colmar, Pennsylvania, or on the web at royalbilliards.com. Now we're going to get into a little bit of some NFL football. Luke and I both had some very detrimental losses this past week. I'll go after Luke, but Luke, get started on your boys in that kind of disappointing loss, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, very disappointing loss. I can be disappointed, but I also can be optimistic. I believe that was just like a crazy fuckery game. You lose Lane Johnson in the middle of the game. The defense I get it, Jets offense isn't anything special, but for whatever reason, after all the secondary, I don't even know who's alive anymore. In the secondary for us, it feels like, especially at safety when Blankenship goes down. Somehow they kept getting stops and it kept happening. To me, the absolute crumb of the whole fucking thing is easily Brian Johnson. I mean, you got to figure it out. You get a 3-week grace period when you lose a coordinator. There's no doubt about it. And I get it. It's harder because you're calling plays than the defensive side of the ball. And, there's more creativity that goes along with it. I get it. Knowing your personnel, cool. I get it. But Sean Desai on the other side of the ball has not only dealt with, a new team and a new environment, new city, everything you're dealing with, but he also is dealing with injuries. And for whatever reason, he's seeming to figure it out just fine on the defensive side of the ball. You were there last year. He came from Seattle. He was defensive coordinator of Seattle. Now he's our defensive coordinator. And he seems to be, he hasn't skipped a beat. He's been unbelievable outside of one game against Washington. But you look at the offensive side of the ball. You were here. I get it. Play calling is new, and it's not easy, and it's hard to do. I totally understand that. You were familiar with the quarterback. You were familiar with the receiving core, the offensive line, the leadership, everything. You were familiar with all these things, and you haven't been able to figure it out, it seems, and we're at week 6 going into week 7. So I definitely have a problem with that, and it's 100,000,010% concern. Scares the shit out of me, actually, in terms of going forward and making big time calls and big time moments. It's definitely scary. But the other thing I'll look, and this is kind of playing devil's advocate to those who might be worried about the Eagles right now. I keep saying it. Do me a favor. Teams are losing weird games. Teams are looking like complete shit. We'll get into it in a second, but Buffalo did not look good last night. They were lucky as hell to get away with a win. Against the Giants last night, who are abysmal themselves. But, you can't go into it and say that we're, not in a good spot. We're in a good spot. Undoubtedly a top 2 team in the NFC. Maybe, I guess you could say top 3 now with the Lions making some noise. But it's kind of funny hearing people talk about the Lions, who are 5-1, and talk about how unbelievable they've been, how great they've been, and how they could make a Super Bowl, when we're sitting here probably with a better quarterback and a better offensive line and better receivers and all those things, and we're just winning uglier, and we have the same record, but, we have no shot. Yeah, I think people really got to get a clue on that one. But the other thing, and more importantly than anything I'll say I won't even talk about the last game anymore. I'll talk about what's coming up. Obviously, these next 6 games are fucking really hard. Probably the hardest stretch out of any team in the league the next 6 weeks, or seeming impossible how it lines up this way. Yeah, how hard it is. Sure. You're gonna tell how good we are right now. I said it when the schedule came out, and I'll say it right now, especially after a bad loss like that. I did not expect to lose that game. They have great leadership in their quarterback. They have great leadership in guys like Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, guys who have been there for a minute, who have won here for a minute. They understand, the peaks and, the low points of a season. They understand how that works. We will find out through the leadership of our team. We will find out through playing bigger competition how good this team really is. Does that mean they're going to go 6-0? Fuck no. That's not going to happen. Can they go 4-2? If you can get me 4-2 in this stretch, I feel really good about where we are, and I feel really good about, our chances of making it back to that game, even though the quarterback and everything, the offensive coordinator, looked like shit.
Yeah. No, you bring up a very good point. You can't get all that bent out of shape. And you guys, I saw all the Eagles fans rush out of your room after the game, all, not saying much, not really all that upset. And I was very surprised. But in the end of it, you guys have a good mindset that, hey, you got to move forward. You got to look at the bright spots. You got a tough stretch coming up, like you said. Going off of it with my Giants, tough loss against the Bills. I mean, I didn't have any hope going into the game. I saw 15.5. I really wanted to take the Bills. But as a fan of the Giants, there was no shot I was touching that. No shot. However, some bright spots to look at. The defense finally showed up. Sure, Josh Allen had probably his worst game of all season, and I will say that with full confidence. He's 4-0 in primetime games. He has the best completion percentage in primetime games and didn't show up at all last night. But the defense did force him to make some plays that weren't completed, weren't successful. On the offensive side of the ball, how do you not punch it in? I'm not even going to get started on that last drive because that was utter bullshit in the last play. That was utter bullshit. How do you not give it to your best player?
Dak Prescott just missed a wide open receiver in the end zone. Wow, to take the lead.
It's just utter blasphemy how, you don't give it to your best player on the fucking last play of the game. And the Darren Waller, sure, you could argue is PI, wasn't PI. Either run the damn push or run the damn ball with Saquon Barkley. That's all you need to do right there. You're on the one. Yeah. You're on the one. Punch it in.
Yeah.
You score the damn touchdown, you win. Going into the half also, and this will be the last blunder because I don't need to go into this much depth about a team that is 1-5 because it is a laughingstock. Why are you running the ball when there's 14 seconds left and you have 0 timeouts? No team is getting the ball, getting it back, and spiking it. It's not statistical. It's not happening. Throw the ball. Throw it out of bounds if you have to. Do not ever do that bullshit again. That was like high school type of shit. What are we doing? What are we doing, Dable? I don't understand it. I seriously don't.
Only team that can do that and get away with it is probably us. I think we did it. I believe it was the Tampa Bay game. There was one play left, 2 seconds at the goal line, and they decided to just push it in, which I'm totally cool with as an Eagles fan. But I totally understand what you're saying, especially with the fact, and we seem to talk about it every week now, Saquon Barkley, 1-year deal. It's a big-time moment. He comes back. The team's playing like shit. All of a sudden, they look better. How the hell does he not get the ball there? He cannot be happy right now. I wouldn't be, at least. I mean, that's an utter disgrace. But that's yeah.
No, it was just embarrassing because it's always just false hope. Diggs has a good game. Allen has a horrible game. They bottle up their rush defense. They have 2 interceptions. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. It is bullshit.
Yeah.
How are you going to give me that much false hope from a guy like Tyrod Taylor, who's probably the best backup in the league? I mean, he looked good. I'll give that as a bright spot, and I hope if Danny Jones is anything but 100%, that Tyrod Taylor continues to play and continues to perform. Because now you're going up. You gotta start winning some games, or you gotta just say, hey, we're giving up. We're going for Caleb Williams. We're going for a different quarterback.
I don't think that they can afford to do that.
That's what I don't think so either, because you just paid Daniel Jones $40 million a year, and now he's showing you, hey, I don't deserve that money. He really fucking didn't, and I justified that contract before. I'll own up to it, but it's a whole wildfire in New York. But we'll backpack off of that with NFL Week 6 reactions. So to start off the week, Thursday night, a pretty ugly game, if I must say so. Chiefs, I believe, only had 1 touchdown. In a 19-8 win, garbage time touchdown for the Broncos. Chiefs didn't look all that good. Travis Kelce not all that back. Definitely probably should have rested him. But they're not the favorite coming out of the AFC right now. It's the Dolphins' AFC to lose, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, I think right now they are the favorite. I was just having this conversation today. I don't believe this like motion, space, speed, I'll outrun you bullshit is how you win.
Oh no, you're not going to win the game. It's not the Olympic Games. It's National
You're
Football
not
League.
winning that way in January unless they get home field advantage and play in warm weather all throughout the playoffs. If you go to Kansas City or Buffalo or New York or one of these, colder city places like that, you get punched in the mouth. They don't let you play that way. No. So I guess we'll see. Plus, people are forgetting about it now because it's only week 6. But I mean, let's see if Tua can really last the whole season. Let's see that first.
No, 100%.
And I look forward to this too because I get it. Miami's good, and right now it wouldn't. I wouldn't call you stupid to think that Miami's better than us right now. But what I will tell you is that we have the formula to beat them to an absolute T. Pound it down their throat. They don't want it. Pause. I don't give a shit. Pound it right down their throat. Run the damn ball. 300 yards rushing. The ball should not go in the air more than 25 times. No, should not. Totally should not.
No, their defense doesn't look all that great. It'll be interesting to see if their offense can keep up in the playoffs. Well, moving on, we had another last London game of the season. We had the Ravens against the Titans. Ravens somehow showed up surprisingly. Very sad because the Titans have given up on Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this. I enjoy watching that beast of a man just bulldoze through guys. I mean, it takes 3 guys to get him down. And it's sad that they're now moving on to a guy like Tyjae Spears, who don't shame Tyjae Spears. He's a great player. We've seen it. But he's coming from Tulane. He's not coming from some SEC school. He's not coming from LSU. He's not coming from some Big Ten school. He's coming from Tulane.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Moving on to start the 1:00 games, we had the Panthers against the Dolphins. Panthers scored 14 unanswered to start, and then the Dolphins closed 42-7 in the last coming minutes. They obviously, we just touched on them. I don't know if they'll be able to withhold in the playoffs and throughout the whole rest of the season. Can Tua stay healthy? Can the rest of these guys keep their speed up? Can the defense withhold? We'll see. Moving on, Saints, Texans. Texans with a pretty surprising victory, in my opinion. C.J. Stroud is looking pretty good right now as the favorite out of the rookie quarterbacks, with now Anthony Richardson possibly done for the season. So that'll be an interesting thing. You had the Commanders against the Falcons. Commanders definitely had luck in their favor. Falcons had a lot of opportunities to win this game and just couldn't capitalize, as we see the Cowboys pick it off Herbert to advance to 4-2. Wow, that was embarrassing. They had their
embarrassing drive by the Chargers offensive line. Jesus, he didn't have any type of time.
Yeah. Moving on, the Jags against the Colts. The Jags just dominating them. That NFC South division is theirs to lose. They are the favorites to win that division, and let's see how they move on into the playoffs with that dominance of a team. You had the Seahawks against the Bengals. Bengals finally getting back into their groove, winning 17-13. And then to cap off the 1:00 games, the Vikings against the Bears. The Vikings winning against the Bears. Justin Fields going down early in the game, and that was all that they wrote as the Vikings won 19-13. Before we get into the 4:00 slate and the rest of the games, we're going to take a quick commercial break again. We'll be right back.
In our family, food is our daily bond. My nonna, affectionately called Mama by many, found solace and joy in the kitchen, sharing our love through delicious creations. She turned her culinary passion into a flourishing business alongside her husband and sons in 1983. Celebrating 40 years is a testament to our exceptional team, friends, family, and beloved customers. With gratitude, we look forward to the future, expanding our brand to share the highest quality Italian food and wine nationwide. Our heartfelt thanks to everyone who has played a part in our story. Grazie mille.
Thank you to Carlinos. And now, to analyze the rest of the 4 o'clock slate, you had we had one more 1 o'clock game. You had the Niners against the Browns. Browns surprisingly holding off. Jake Moody, drafted high as a kicker. Very unfamiliar with that gesture. Why are you drafting a kicker in the 3rd round? I don't know. Couldn't get the job done, missed 2 field goals. Even if he just hit one of those, that would have won them the game. So, tough loss for the Niners. Also, Trent Williams, McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel going down. I think Deebo Samuel and Williams are listed as day-to-day. McCaffrey, I don't know if I've heard any update on him. But moving on to the 4 o'clock slate, you had the Raiders over the Patriots. Mac Jones, Eric, Bill Belichick, you got to give up on him. He is a wildfire in that backfield.
Yeah. Going back to the Niners, just a quick point. Some people on the internet kind of take it a little too far in terms of how good and bad people are, or some hot takes or things like that. But it's guaranteed throughout an NFL season, especially in playoff play, but we experienced it last week, that a quarterback's going to have to win you a game. You kind of saw it a little bit this week with the Eagles too, and Jalen came up short. But I obviously feel better about him and, Purdy, the way he looked in the Super Bowl and bigger games like that. So it's just way better than he is. But yeah, and Purdy did get you there, but he got a lot of help from Diamador Lenore in that 49er defense. So yeah, he got a lot of help there for field position and things like that. But he really did not look impressive from the 3rd quarter until pretty much the end of that, that last drive to win him that game. He came up short.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been praising Purdy I slandered him all throughout the offseason. I wasn't a huge fan of his, and he didn't step up this past Sunday. And sure, you can blame it on Moody like I just did, but in the end of it, he's got to step up in bigger moments. As I just said, Raiders over the Patriots. Lions with a commanding victory over the Buccaneers. I don't know how the spread was only 3, in my opinion. The Lions are a very good and dominant team. Sure, they're not going to survive in the playoffs, I don't think, with a team like the 49ers or the Eagles, but we'll see. I've seen weirder things going into the playoffs. Rams-Cardinals was tied, I believe, at 9s at half, and then the Rams scored 17 unanswered in the second half to win the ball game. They're looking pretty good now with Cooper Kupp back, with Puka Nacua. Twin threats like Gio and Jerry Rice back there. Stafford doesn't look all that bad, back into form. Obviously, we touched on the Eagles, Jets, and the Giants, Bills, and then we just saw the Cowboys knock off the Chargers 20-17. So any thoughts after week 7?
It's kind of what we all thought it was. There's not really a whole lot of surprise. We look at the NFC landscape. We kind of all assumed it'd be Philly, San Francisco, and we all kind of had high hopes for the Lions, and they've kind of answered those so far. There haven't been a whole lot of surprises. Miami, I wouldn't really call a surprise. It was kind of like if Tua stays healthy, which he has. Maybe the Bills would maybe be a surprise in the AFC. Why wouldn't you? They're looking a bit inconsistent. The Ravens might be a surprise. But going into week 7, I don't believe that there's, any team that's played bad or good that's really surprised me so far.
Yeah. Before we get into the college realm of things, let's get into week 7. So you got the Jags and Saints kicking off Thursday. Falcons, Bucks, a very big divisional matchup for them. Raiders, Bears, toilet bowl in my opinion. Browns, Colts. Commanders, Giants. Let's see if the Giants can maybe improve to 2-5. Let's see. Lions, Ravens. Lions should be able to pull that off, although that's a pretty good game. Bills, Patriots. Bills should steamroll them. Cardinals, Seahawks. Pretty good game. Steelers, Rams. You got the Chargers and the Chiefs. Another great game. Packers, Broncos. Packers should steamroll them. Sunday night, you got your boys in a very tough matchup.
Yeah.
Dolphins against Birds. And then Monday night, another good matchup in the Niners against the Vikings. So a lot of good matchups, a lot to look forward to in Week 7. Now to kick it off into the college realm of things, we'll preview this past week and then look forward at specifically Penn State's toughest matchup of the year so far in Ohio State.
Nothing else matters in college football this week.
Yeah. So this past week didn't bring us too many good matchups. Best matchup of the week was Penix against Bo Nix in Washington versus Oregon in Seattle. You saw Michael Penix show why he is the Heisman candidate. And Bo Nix didn't play all that bad either. I mean, that was an absolute dogfight. I think it finished around 32-29.
Yeah, it definitely was not his fault that they lost that game for sure.
Yeah, no, it's definitely looking pretty good for them. I think they jumped us and moved into 5, I think. So it'll definitely be interesting moving forward with these new college rankings. Other than that, you had Ohio State steamroll Purdue. Georgia and Vanderbilt was pretty close up until the fourth quarter. Very interesting game. Tennessee just knocking off A&M. Pittsburgh upsetting Louisville in a blowout, actually. Air Force is ranked. Wow. Air Force beating Wyoming. LSU steamrolling Auburn.
USC.
Mizzou taking care of business in Kentucky. You had USC getting dominated by Sam Hartman. Where is Caleb Williams? You can't win without defense, and we're seeing that right now.
100%.
You had Miami UNC, pretty close matchup, only 10-point game. Oregon State taking care of UCLA, and then to cap off the nightcap, you had Duke taking over NC State. And now looking ahead at Week 8, first off, we'll start off with our boys. Penn State rolling into Columbus. Both teams undefeated to this point. A lot to look forward to. You got two very dominant rush games, two offensive lines that complement these rush games. And then I would obviously give the upper hand to Ohio State with the receivers. But when it comes down to defense, I truly think Penn State has the upper hand.
I mean, you can make the case right now that they're probably, if not the best, they're easily top 3 in the country.
Yeah.
And people want to bring up these stats, which is great, and how similar, the points given up per game Ohio State is compared to Penn State. My whole thing is like Penn State going into the season was, we're going to hang our hat on the defensive side of the ball. That's never normally Ohio State's way of winning. It's seeming to be more of that this year than it has in years past. But I think that, going into this game, we have the advantage at quarterback and we have the advantage at defensively. How much will either of those things matter? And this will get into my prediction. I don't know how much those advantages will actually come to fruition. One, because if our quarterback, who is better than McCord, 100%, if he doesn't have his receivers getting open against real Power 5-star, defenders, the first time they're seeing this really, outside of like Illinois, maybe, I guess you could say. Iowa too. I forgot about that one. But if they're not getting open, which they've had a hard time doing this year, I don't like our chances. If, defensively, if our offense isn't putting up more than 17 points, I mean, it's hard for, to go on the road at Columbus and give up less than 20 points against Ohio State. I don't give a shit how good their team is going into a season. And third and most important than anything else, until James Franklin, until he pulls off a big win, I refuse to believe he will win one, especially on the road. I just can't do it. It pains me to say. I don't think they will win. I'm predicting an Ohio State win. It pains me to say it. But until he goes out and really wins a big game, how can I sit up here and feel confident going into Columbus?
No, you bring up a good point that Franklin doesn't show up in big games, but in my opinion, Sean Clifford was not the guy. This is the real test.
No, I agree. And he is the best quarterback he's had, including McSorley, in terms of talent and size and skill. and arm strength and all those kinds of things. But if his receivers, which we don't really have right now, if they're not getting open like that, I feel like he has to throw pretty much a dot on every play unless they call, a perfect play call against a certain coverage. He has to beat them every single play, and I just don't know if I trust that.
It's going to come down to our defense, our offense beating their defense.
Yeah.
Because I'm meeting this wholeheartedly. I think our defense can keep up with their offense.
Well, realistically, this is how I'm thinking about it. I don't believe that they're going to give up more than 23 points. So if you're us, it's a lot of points, but you have to go into it saying, how do I get to 24 points? How do I get to 24, 27 points? It's a lot of points, but you have to score that. You have to. You can't go on to Columbus and expect, to give up less than 20 points. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. No. I am going to be optimistic and obviously with a little bias, take Penn State in Columbus, beating them finally taking advantage of the talent that we have, combining it all together in one full circle, and finally beating the Buckeyes. I think we can do it. A matchup I'm looking forward to is how Kalen King, he's going in the first round in most mock drafts against another first-round talent in Marvin Harrison Jr. How is he going to fare? Is he going to hold up, or is Marvin Harrison going to take full advantage of him? And to be honest, that is probably the biggest matchup of this game.
Right.
Because McCord doesn't have many other options. Sure, he has Ibuka. He has, I'm blanking on the guy coming out of the backfield. They got a two-man backfield just like Penn State. But Penn State has been very good against their run so far. It's going to come down to how do we defend against Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I can get behind that for sure.
And can we win the game in the trenches? Because the O-line has shown some strengths. They've shown some weaknesses. You got Nick Singleton, former Gatorade Player of the Year. You got a big guy like Katron Allen, very good performer. How will they fare? Will they be able to run the damn ball down Ohio State's throats? Or will Ohio State stop our run game, stop our offensive line in their tracks, and win this ball game?
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah. All right. Before we get more into the college football Week 8 slate, we're going to take another commercial break. So we'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Hats.com is the premier destination for quality and fashion-forward hats and more, with designs for every style and trend. Locally based and run by Philly sports team fanatics, Hats.com can help you elevate your hat John. Utilize the easy-to-use guides at Hats.com to find your perfect size and style, and shipping and returns are free. Hats.com. Find yourself in a hat. Use code Philly for 15% off your order. Hats.com.
Check out Hats.com. Use code Philly for 15% off. And after we just analyzed Penn State, Ohio State, Luke surprisingly taking Ohio State, me obviously sticking with our boys in Penn State. Let's look a little bit at the slate. You got a lot of divisional matchups and a lot of rivalries, arguably. You got Air Force Navy in Navy. I believe they play down in Annapolis, Maryland. You got Tennessee, Bama. That was a pretty good game last year. I do remember it. And then Hooker showing up. Bryce Young showing up too. Just an absolute slugfest in that game. Hopefully the same again this year. Alabama hasn't really had a quarterback that's shown up so far. Jalen Milroe didn't show up all that great this past Saturday. Let's see if he can show up this Saturday. Washington State, Oregon. Oregon will probably get back on their horse. Minnesota, Iowa, another Big Ten matchup. Iowa obviously being favored, obviously being ranked at home. Moving on down the slate, you got Virginia, UNC. You got Ole Miss against Auburn. You got Michigan against Michigan State. And then you got Duke, Florida State. And then the other good the last good matchup, arguably, is Utah, USC. And I don't know if Cam Rising is back yet for Utah. He played pretty good against the Lions until he went down in the Rose Bowl. And then Penn State took advantage of that weak Utah Utes team. But now Can he show up? Is Cam Rising going to play? And is Caleb Williams going to show up? And how is this defense going to show up for Caleb Williams? Because they sure as hell did not show up against Notre Dame. They haven't showed up the first 7 weeks of the season. You just lost. You're probably done for the season. How are you going to bounce back? Right. Is Caleb Williams going to go to the draft? There's been rumors that if the number one team isn't a team that he's necessarily wants to go to, he's going to come back to USC.
I think it's a ton of shit, but whatever.
I think it's all media bullshit too, because I mean, why would it? That kid is definitely a money chaser. Why aren't you going to go into the NFL and make that money?
Another thing is, like, if you're drafting first, they stink. So what are you waiting for the next dog shit team to pick you? I mean, that's bullshit. He just wanted, the focus to be on the season, and all power to him is the right answer. I'm not blaming him for it. But I don't there's no way people actually believe that he's going to sit out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I personally agree with you that it's all media attention, but we'll see. That is all. Before we sign off, we're going to do our classic shout out of the week. So my shout out of the week. I'll stick with my Rangers. Josh Jung, I've been a big fan of his all season. Rookie went down. I think he broke his hand during the season, and the Rangers definitely suffered. And he was batting that 3-hole. It was Semyon, Seager, Jung, and then Adolis Garcia, and then Jonah. I think it was Lau, and then Jonah Heim. Josh Jung being out they definitely missed him in the beginning of the season. They definitely showed that they need him, and now he's finally performing in the playoffs. He's getting on base. He's putting the ball in play. Rookies are finally showing up. You got a young buck finally putting on the pens and saying, I'm going to go to work. And he's been going to work. It'll be interesting to see. Can the Rangers close him out in 4? Can they close him out in 5? Can they close out the series in general? Will they advance to the World Series? I don't know. My shout out of the week, Josh Jung.
Yeah, I'm going to go an interesting route. I was, die hard watching the game on my computer today while the Phils game was on. I'm shouting out Pat Bev. I mean, this guy is out here chirping Ben Simmons, getting ejected in a preseason game. He's writing a rule book on how to be loved in this city before we even step on the damn court to start the year. But I want to stress a comment before I end it, and it's Julian saying he's not impressed at all in the offense. That kind of goes back to what we said earlier. I don't know if you missed it. A lot of it has to do with leaving guys on base and having guys like Stott and Bohm struggle where they are right now with guys on base. You can't move Cassidy up there, so it's kind of like you got to stick with what's been working, and it's kind of like a hope that they put it together thing. And I do have confidence that they will, because they were great for you all season long, and they are young. Maybe it's one of these things where they're, I get it. They were also part of the team last year. It's probably not. Just going through some scold stretches right now. You got to hope they'll get it together. And once they do, and if they do, I mean, the roof is there's no ceiling for this team.
100%.
It's not offensively at all. But yeah, shout out of the week, no doubt. Pat Bev, unbelievable stuff. Keep chirping that piece of shit Ben Simmons all day. I'm with it. And he'll be shouted out every week.
Yeah, no, definitely a well-packed week of sports. We got ALCS, NLCS coming up. Penn State, Ohio State. Let's go Lions. Luke and I will be heading over to Columbus to watch that game. Hopefully we get a W, and hopefully we can run around Columbus all happy. That is it. Before we sign off, we want to give another shout-out to Gleason's Bar. Gleason's Bar is located at 6700 Mill Creek Ave in Levittown, Pennsylvania. Use promo code A2D for 10% off your order whenever you dine in, take out, or online. Gleason'sBarandSteaks.com. Thank you to everybody that showed up in the comments. We love the love the comments. We love reacting to them. Keep on showing up. Thank you to everybody that showed up after our normal scheduled time. We'll be back next Monday, 10:30 for our reactions from Week 7, Week 8 of college football. And hopefully Penn State comes out with a W. Until then, peace out.